Hello, welcome back to EPG. I'm, of course, Greg, your host, coming to you from beautiful Kotor, Montenegro. So Kotor has a very interesting place in not only Montenegrin history, but also in the history of the Balkans. And I will get into it on the course of this little video. But also, there is a very important thing that I want to focus on in this video, and I will show you in a second. And it is, of course, the lovable residents of this fair port city. So why Kotor? Kotor is a port city on an inlet of the Adriatic. So it served as a really kind of easily defensible place, especially with all these Montenegros, these black mountains behind me, and all around. So a lot of empires were interested in coming here. Basically all the empires that were interested in conquering parts of Europe as opposed to the greater world. The Romans were here, Ottomans wanted to be here, Serbians, Austro-Hungarians, Austrians, the French had a presence here, Venetians. So yeah, anybody who was looking to take parts of Europe within were here. So I haven't heard any history about Spanish, Portuguese, or British wanting to be here, but there were enough people that were interested. So if you're hungry, they have a farmer's market here up until about midday, where you can come and get fresh produce. Really good stuff. Now, as I said, empires that were interested in taking over parts of Europe were very interested in Kotor, and that included the Nazis. So if you see this date behind me, 21st of November 1944, that is when Kotor was liberated from the Nazis by Tito. In we go.
Well, as you probably know, the symbol of communism. But what else we got? We got culture.
So why all the cats? Well, as I mentioned before, this is a port town, and one of the things that cats like to do is hunt rats. So rats bring disease, rats can destroy anything like shipping stuff that comes in, grain, etc. So the cats serve as a natural pest control system, so they are very welcome to port cities like Kotor, Dubrovnik, Istanbul. So yeah, they are a very important part of this beautiful city. So why does Kotor look like parts of Italy? Well, there's a very simple reason for that. The Balkans were under threat of the Ottoman Empire, and the people of Kotor did not want to submit to their will because they were, how can I say this, very brutal when it came to their taxes, including blood taxes. So what they did was they petitioned for Venice, the very powerful navy, to come and treat them like a protectorate. So the Venetians decided to come do that, and Kotor served as a protectorate for the Empire of Venice. And yeah, they were not ruled by any Ottoman ruler for even a single day. So this little spot right here is kind of indicative of two different empires. So if you see this clock tower, that was installed by the Austrian Empire when they came and ruled Kotor. And if you see that little spike kind of thing right next to it, the Montenegrins had a very interesting way of policing themselves because the Venetians weren't really wanting to do that. So what would happen is if somebody committed a crime, such as stealing or, I don't know, any other type of terrible thing that would happen amongst people, they would be tied up to that post. They would need to hold a piece of cloth that wrote their crime, and they would be there for 24 hours, so that way everybody in the entire town could see what they did. And they would not be able to leave until the last person of Kotor came through those gates and then shut them behind them and saw what that person did. So it was very effective, and also it is still happening today. They pass around a newspaper of, gossip of the city, of what people have done, with photographs. So that's another way to kind of keep people in line. And it even extends to my hostel because they have a wall of shame there of people who did different things. Nothing too bad, just being loud or spilling, drink or something. But it's pretty interesting how old habits tend to die hard. So these little flags dotted around Kotor signify the names of the families that either once owned these buildings or currently own these buildings. And these were part of, I guess, Venetian royalty, princes that would come here and set up homes. So to give you an idea of how rich some of these families were, it was very difficult to get clean drinking water in this place because the Adriatic is, of course, saltwater. So people needed to dig down springs very deep in order to get clean drinking water. So there were fountains that were shared by the town, but because these people were so rich, they were able to get their own private drinking fountain. So behind me is St. Tryphon Cathedral, which is one of the more interesting cathedrals in this part of Europe. Allegedly, they wanted to take St. Tryphon's relics out of Constantinople, and they wanted to take them to Venice. Problem was that when the Venetian sailors got to Kotor, they're like, oh, this is Venice. So they set up a small church here, put his relics inside. Then when they realized it wasn't Venice, they tried to take the relics to Venice, and there were 4 separate storms that kept the relics here. So they decided that it was the saint's will to keep the relics here. They built a cathedral. It was consecrated in 1166. And they decided that instead of missing out on the centuries jubilee, they have a jubilee every 50 years. So that way people can enjoy the celebration every generation. Quick side quest if you're interested in some fantastic pizza, which is, carry away. You come to Pronto Kotor. Fantastic, and plus you can use a credit card to pay for it, so you don't need to keep cash on you all the time. This is the Maritime Museum of Kotor. Believe it or not, people didn't really like climbing all these mountains, so they devised a way to get around them through sailing. This is actually a very important part of not only Montenegrin history, but also of Yugoslavia. Lots of very competent sailors came through here, and this was one of the public fountains that people used when they didn't have them in their own homes. So given this part of the world, the 2 major denominations of Christianity were both Orthodox and Catholic. And this church behind me, St. Luke's Cathedral, is the only dual-use church I think I've ever heard of that served both Catholic and Orthodox believers at one time. So very interesting. So right over here is the Blessed Osanna Church of Kotor. Now the reason why is the Blessed Osanna Church is because Osanna was a nun who lived in Kotor. It's hard to see, but on this door here, there's a story of her life. Basically, she was a young girl, got a vision of God, decided that instead of getting married, she would go join a nunnery, started practicing becoming a nun, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of Ottoman Turk ships showed up in the Bay of Kotor, and she and the rest of the town prayed together for 5 days, and without any reason or understanding or whatever, all those Ottoman ships turned around. It's not even in the Turkish texts why they turned around, they just did. So Kotor remained Ottoman free. And so because that counted as a miracle, she became blessed. So her relics are inside, and it's a kind of important story for the town of Kotor. And again, as I said, 0 days of Ottoman rule, unlike a majority of other parts of the Balkans. So I have hit the cat jackpot of Kotor. This place is known as Cat Square. It's right next to Blessed Osanna Church. Cats galore. So basically, people have cats as pets in Kotor, as I mentioned before. Here are some of them enjoying themselves in the heat and the sun. The reason why there's so many cats here is because people, as I said, have cats as pets. They don't spay or neuter them. So they have little kitties that pop up every few months, and if they don't want to take care of them, there's a lovely lady over here that does. So they bring their little kittens here. She raises them until they become of age, they can take care of themselves, and then they continue to inhabit the town, attacking all the crazy critters that come in with all the ships. Some of the happy little residents enjoying a little mealtime. Word of caution, there are a lot of little kittens that are sleeping, so be sure to be mindful of where you step. More kitties, so many little kitties. Kitties in trees, kitties on houses, kitties on walls, and on the ground. These places runs off donations of all types, so cash and food. Even newborn kittens.
You can leave it there.
Oh, is it just that?
Yeah, yeah. There was a separate box, but they need more boxes because there's more kitties coming.
Bye bye kitty. Bye bye kitty. Sorry, cuteness overload. So one last thing before I go. If you're interested in hiking up the city walls, which you are a very brave person if you do, because it is very hot and it is very high up, what you need to do is come to this place right here, right next to the Blessed Osanna Church, and then you can hike up there. The thing is that I would suggest going either early morning or late afternoon, because if you do not and do it when everybody else does, it is about €15 as of the 11th of August 2026. So yeah, make sure that if you don't want to pay and you want to make sure that it's cooler, go in the morning or go in the evening. So I hope you've enjoyed my little tour of Kotor. Very interesting town, lots of interesting history, very easily walkable. It is a big stop on cruise ships, so be mindful of that. But yeah, thank you very much for your time and get out there.